Hi, and welcome to BeatleDave's Beatles channel. Today's video is episode 1 of the solo years, so please come and join me. So hello and a very warm welcome today to BeatleDave's Beatles channel. Hope I find all you fantastic people doing really well out there. Hope you've had a fabulous week and thanks for joining me again today. So today's video is the start of a very new series being called the Solo Years, the 1970s. Well, we'll be showing every single solo Beatles album in order of release from the 1970s, including any USA issues, any European issues or reissues, and of course any 8 tracks along the way as well. So obviously this first episode is based on the Ringo Starr album Sentimental Journey, which is Ringo's old standards LP, which actually he mentioned during the sessions for the Get Back album. So obviously for Ringo it was a difficult time, and obviously once John Lennon said he was leaving the band, he obviously wanted to keep busy, so he mentioned this to George Martin and then they began work on his album. But more about that later. And before then though, it's time for something completely different. It's Ask BeatleDave, yeah! So yes, welcome to Ask BeatleDave, where I'll be answering your questions that you have about anything Beatles related, maybe about anything I've shown or haven't shown, about anything the guys did solo wise, or just about anything you can think of, and I'll endeavour to answer it right here. So today's question is from Be a Good Dogger. Hiya Scott, how you doing down under, my friend? And he asks, BeatleDave, with the recent resurgence of cassettes, if Apple ever reissued the Beatles albums on cassette, analogue or digital, would you buy them? Well, yes, I mean, I've generally always collected cassettes and tapes along the way, as you do. And I've got the Beatles cassette collection in the blue box, as you know, which I collected many, many years ago. But even now, I can still remember buying my first Walkman in 1982, which was actually just a momentous occasion. Having the Beatles music on the go was just incredible. And I'm one of the generation who used to actually, buy cassettes at the time. And I still have a soft spot for them, actually. So, yeah, I would really love to see an updated box set of the Beatles music. Certainly I would buy it. There's no doubt about that. So come on, Apple, get yourselves together and get something released. So Scott, I really hope that answers that question for you. And guys, if you want to contribute to Ask BeatleDave, just send me a question in the comments. It's that simple. So come on guys, please me by getting involved and ask me some super questions. Okay then, so moving on, it's time for I Call Your Name. So yes, it's on to them old shout outs. And firstly, I'm just going to mention a weekly radio channel which is on every Saturday at 1 PM Eastern time, I believe, and they play plenty of Beatles and related songs, and it's called Backwards Traveller, and its host is Aaron Badgley. How you doing, Aaron? And I'll leave a link in the description, so guys, please check it out. It's absolutely fabulous. Okay, moving on then, it's hi to ADJ Green, hiya Adam, Peter Zurib, James Gordon, Ruby Pepper, Michael Noland, fabulous channel, Magical Mystery Mike, another fabulous channel, The Real Jackson, and James Gordon. So that's a big hi to you guys from yours truly, BeatleDave. So on to the main event then today, guys, and it's the Solo Years episode 1, starting with the Ringo Starr Sentimental Journey LP. So please, come and join me. On the 27th of March 1970, Apple Records released the debut album by Ringo Starr titled Sentimental Journey in the UK, just as the Beatles were officially about to break up. The album is a collection of standards that Ringo recalled from his childhood in Liverpool. After the experimental albums from his Beatle cohorts, it was technically the first proper solo Beatles album to embrace a popular music form. After recruiting George Martin to produce and using a different musical arranger on each song, Sessions began in London in October 1969, with Ringo wanting to keep busy after John Lennon's private announcement that he was leaving the Beatles. Because Ringo was involved in activities including sessions for Billy Preston and Doris Troy, the album's recordings ran for several months off and on, making use of studios in the UK and the USA. Despite his limited songwriting experience, Ringo was encouraged to make a solo album by his bandmates and also his mother, Elsie Starkey, and stepfather Harry Graves, who supported the idea when he visited them at their Liverpool home. The LP cover was shot by Dutch photographer Richard Polak, showing the Empress pub, which was located around the corner from where Ringo grew up in Liverpool. Most of the standards Ringo chose would have more likely been sang by the happy patrons in the Empress bar. On the 31st of March 1970, Ringo went to Paul's house with a letter from John and George asking him to delay the release of his debut album until after the release of Let It Be. Ringo was practically thrown out of the St John's Wood house after a very heated exchange, with Paul not prepared to budge. The impact of Sentimental Journey was now compromised by Paul McCartney's refusal to delay the release of his solo debut, McCartney, which meant he was now even more estranged from his bandmates because of Alan Klein, who was now managing Apple. The album peaked at number 7 on the UK chart and number 22 in the US Billboard, despite the lack of a supporting single. Ringo Starr later said that because McCartney was issued so soon after his record, it slayed Sentimental Journey. So let's take a look. So here it is then, the Ringo Starr LP, Sentimental Journey, released in the UK on Apple Records on the 27th of March 1970, catalogue number PCS 7101. So, technically this album is really the first Beatles solo album, if you obviously discount the likes of Two Virgins and Life of the Lions and Electronic Sounds, etc. Obviously though, at this point the Beatles pretty much ceased to be a functioning group, and with the release of McCartney just a few weeks after this album, it was clear that with Paul's question and answer sheet that included with the promotional copies of the album, that the Beatles were no longer. Obviously, in one of the questions on the question and answer sheet with McCartney, it said something like, "Do you ever see yourself working with the Beatles ever again?" And the answer was no. And obviously then this hit the paper and it was a case of Paul's quitting the Beatles. Although technically the other three had at some point all left at some point in the last couple of years. With the four Beatles, obviously you've got three excellent songwriters and Ringo, which kind of struggled a little bit, but with this album, he wanted to do something very, very different. He wanted to do a great album of standards, and he was talking about this during the Get Back sessions. And obviously he contacted George Martin, and away they went. They got on and did this album, and I'm really glad they did. It's probably not something that's going to be on your turntable every day, but it's certainly worth a listen. So we'll start with the cover then first, and as you can see, it's the Empress pub, which is just around the corner from where Ringo lived in Admiral Grove, and actually on the opposite side of the road is where he also lived at Madryn Street. Obviously both Madryn Street, where he lived, and obviously the Empress were both places now that they've been saved. Obviously they were going to be bulldozed, but they're not now. And if you actually see the Empress pub now, it's a lot more colourful than what it looks in this picture. So here we are then. So we've got Ringo Starr, Sentimental Journey, and it's a nostalgic trip for Ringo. All these standards that would have probably been sung along in this pub. It's a fantastic looking pub, it really is. I've been there several times and it really does look great. It looks exactly like this on the picture when I've seen it on previous occasions. And you've got Ringo there, bottom left there, in the doorway. It's like a cardboard cutout he's been superimposed. And it's a really natural picture of like Liverpool. You've got a woman walking across there, and just on the bottom right you've got those couple of kids just into shot there. Just a couple of heads. It's a really great looking picture. It's a real nostalgic, sentimental journey for Ringo, this one. And I believe actually in the windows, I think there's a lot of pictures of Ringo's relations and things, if memory serves me correctly. I may be wrong, but I'm sure that's correct. So let's flip that over then. On the back there, look, we've got that fabulous apple there, the Granny Smith top left. And then we've got Ringo with his hand towards the song titles. You've got Sentimental Journey, Night and Day, Whispering Grass, Bye Bye Blackbird, I'm a Fool to Care, and Stardust on side 1 there. And on side 2 then we've got Blue Turning Grey Over You, Love is a Many Splendid Thing, Dream, You Always Hurt the One You Love, and Have I Told You Lately That I Love You, and Let the Rest of the World Go By. It's a really old standards album, this. It's produced by George Martin, of course, and engineered by Philip MacDonald. And you've got on the bottom right there, we've got an EMI recording and printed and made in Great Britain by Garen Lofthouse. Good old Garen Lofthouse. And let's just take a look at that spine. So onto the inner sleeve then, which is the Apple inner sleeve which you got from the late 60s and into the 70s. It's got copyright exists in all Apple recordings there along the top line. And at the bottom you've got the patent number. And bottom right you've got the Made in Great Britain there. This one's in not too bad shape. A little bit yellow. So onto the vinyl then. And this one's in lovely shape, as you can see. Really dark Apple label there. Really dark one. And we've got the Apple records around the perimeter there on the outside, with the Sentimental Journey there above the centre hole. And on the left there we've got an EMI recording, 33 1/3, with the manufactured in the UK and side 1. And then on the right hand side we've got the stereo with the catalogue number PCS 7101 and the P, circle P 1970 there, with all the track listing, and then Ringo Starr, and produced by George Martin. And the matrix on this side is YEX 771-1U. So we're going to flip that over, and we've got a second pressing label here. It's actually a much lighter label there, Apple label, as you can see. Obviously the label machines, when they run out one side, and if they started the new label on the second side, that's what you got. You got these variants. So once again then we've got the Apple Records perimeter rim with the Sentimental Journey there above the centre hole. And on the left we got the EMI recording, 33 1/3, manufactured in the UK and side 2 there. And on the opposite side we've got stereo, PCS 7101 with the P 1970. And then you've got all the track listings there, and Ringo Starr, produced by George Martin, with the matrix on side 2 being YEX 772-1U. And I actually bought this copy of Sentimental Journey in about the mid-80s, about 1985. Cost me £2, so that was a bargain. So on to my second pressing then of Sentimental Journey by Ringo Starr, released by Apple Records on the 27th of March 1970. Catalogue number PCS 7101. So exactly the same sleeve then, as you can see, of the Empress. Ringo Starr, Sentimental Journey there. Really great looking sleeve. Nice laminate as well on this one, it's a really nice one. Looking really good. So we're going to flip that over. Once again we got that Apple there, top left, and Ringo showing you the songs. And then bottom right we've got the EMI recording, printed and made by Garen Lofthouse there, International. And then we've got that spine, Ringo Starr, Sentimental Journey, and the catalogue number. So on this copy then we've got just a plain patents number inner sleeve there with the Made in Great Britain on the bottom right, and this one's in pretty good shape. Obviously a lot of Apple records had these as well, these particular inners. So onto the vinyl then, and we've got another variant on this particular record. On this particular side we've got the light Apple label, and you've got the Apple records around the perimeter there with the Sentimental Journey above the centre hole, and the EMI recording, 33 1/3, manufactured in the UK and side 1 on the left, with the stereo PCS 7101 and the P 1970 on the right, with the track listing Ringo Starr and produced by George Martin. The matrix is the same as the previous edition, being YEX 771-1U. One You. And the strange thing about this one is when I flip it over, we've now got the very first pressing label there, the darker Apple label type, which should have been with the other record. So I've got a bit of a mishmash going on with these two records, bit of a strange one. So then we've got the Apple Records perimeter there around the outside with the Sentimental Journey there above the spindle hole. And on the left, EMI recording with 33 1/3, manufactured in the UK and side 2. And then on the right then we've got stereo PCS 7101 and the P1970 with the track listings and Ringo Starr and produced by George Martin. And once again the matrix is the same as the previous version, being YEX 772-1U. Once again this one's in absolutely beautiful condition, really fabulous. So on to my last vinyl edition which I've got here then. This is the American version which was released on the 24th of April 1970 on Apple Records, catalogue number SW3365. And this one's completely sealed, as you can see. It's a really nice seal, got a little bit of a sort of squished corner there. Unfortunately I think the seal's just a bit too tight. But a lot of these are getting extremely hard to get hold of now. Any sealed Beatles album or solo Beatles album are always very, very difficult to find. Exactly the same picture, although it looks maybe slightly, the definition on this does look a little bit better, I think, when I've looked at them together. And it's exactly the same then as the image on the UK version, released nearly a whole month after the UK one, so it's quite a big time difference. On this one though, you've got the Apple Records logo there with the Apple Records details, and of course you've got the catalogue number there. With the song titles exactly the same as the UK edition, with Ringo stood there. This is an absolutely beautiful condition. And at the bottom there we've got the details for Broadway in 1700 Broadway there. I've actually been there a few years ago and stood outside there. Printed in USA. And then we've got the spine. Really nice spine, this one, really good. So the final item then I've got to show of Ringo Starr's Sentimental Journey album is this USA 8-track, and it was released on the 24th of April 1970, catalogue number 8XW3365. And this one's completely sealed. It's in absolutely beautiful condition. You can see you've got the album image there with the Apple and the catalogue number. And you've got program 1, 2, 3 and 4 with several tracks on each program. And the Apple 8-track stereo there. So we're going to flip that over. A bit more information there about Apple 8-track cassettes and the warranty. And then on the top we've got the same thing. Apple 8-track stereo. And then on the bottom, Ringo Starr, Sentimental Journey and the catalogue number. So thank you all for tuning in today, guys, on the solo years. I really hope you've enjoyed the first episode today with the Sentimental Journey LP. And of course, I appreciate any comments or communication that I get from any of you. And I will always come back to you just as soon as I can. So the next episode of the solo years will of course be back again next month with the debut album of Paul McCartney, of course titled McCartney. So next week then, we are back with some associated items I have about the film Candy, which has Ringo Starr amongst an all-star cast in his first acting role away from those other fellow Beatles. So please be here next week, same Beatles time, same Beatles channel. So anyway guys, as always, if you enjoy what I'm doing, why not give us a like, subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future videos. This is BeatleDave signing off.